Hi guys, welcome back to the next part of our series. So today we're going to continue with some optimization things that you can do inside of your scene, especially because we're going to be working with more pieces. We're still missing several pieces here on our axe, and things are already at 5 million triangles. So even though Blender can definitely handle, especially if it's divided into multiple subtools or multiple objects here, it's still a good idea to try to optimize whenever we can. So today we're going to be talking about remeshing. Now the first thing I'm going to do, as you can see here, I rename all of my elements: handle A, handle B, lava handle, pommel A, pommel B, pommel hook, which are the things that we actually created. We can even include the spikes, even though the spikes have not been like properly renamed, but I can include all of these spikes into the new collection that I want to do. So I'm going to press M, I'm going to create a new collection, and this is going to be called handle. Now, the advantage of collections, as we've talked about in chapter 0, is the fact that the collection can hold all of the elements here. As you can see, we have 11 meshes in here, and if we turn off the little eye icon, they're all gone. Okay, so by doing this, the performance is free because the software does not need to think about all of these elements. However, there might be some situations where we actually want to think about these elements. So I'm going to be showing you a process that we can do to generate a clear mesh to work with. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, when we were doing, for instance, this piece right here, you guys might have remembered that we got some like a bad performance on certain parts. So how could we create a new mesh that allows us to jump in between subdivision levels while still keeping all of this detail? Well, that's exactly what remeshing will be doing. So here's the process. First, we're gonna duplicate this element and just duplicate and right click so that's exactly in the same spot. So as you can see now, this one is called pommel B001. I'm gonna isolate it real quick, and I'm gonna add a modifier, and this is gonna be a, it's called, always forget about it. It's the remesh modifier. Where is it? Remesh, there we go. So we're gonna use that remesh modifier, and as you can see, what the remesh does, it does pretty much exactly the same thing that we were doing in sculpting, but it uses a new voxel size. So right now we're keeping a voxel size of 0.1 millimeters, right, or 100 centimeters. So what we're gonna do here is we're gonna bring this down a little bit more. Let's say 0.01, which, as you can see, should be good enough to be able to handle this. We can even bring it a little bit higher, so 0.05 for instance. There we go, that's a little bit better. So we're gonna do this at 0.05, and as you can see, this new like level, it's a lot smaller, a lot softer than what we had before. I'm gonna do 0.04, just to give it a little bit more definition on the tip. There we go. So this is going to be my new, let's call it base geometry. I'm going to apply this resolution. So again, this is now my new low poly. And what we're going to do now is we're going to select both elements. Let's isolate them just a second. I'm going to grab the pommel B and I'm going to hide it. And this one right here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a multi-resolution thing, or a multi-resolution modifier. What this does is it allows me to subdivide this, let's say 1 time, 2 times, even 3 times, as you can see right here, and I'm gonna be able to switch on what level I wanna see here on the viewport and what level I wanna see on the sculpting and on the rendering. I've talked about this element a little bit earlier, and this is really helpful when you have really clean topology to begin with, but since our elements were very low poly to begin with, that's why we decided to go the remeshing route in the sculpting section. So here, the ideal thing is we need to try to bring this closer to the amount of points that this one has. As you can see, it's closer to 500,000 polygons. So this one, I'm going to give it one more subdivision. And right now, I'm going all the way over to 7,000 polygons, right? Almost to 1 million triangles. Now that we have this, we're going to add another modifier. And this is going to be a modifier called the shrink wrap modifier, which is right here. This is a deform modifier, and it's here, shrink wrap. So the shrink wrap modifier is asking me to select a target, and in this case, the target is going to be the pommel B, the original pommel that we have. So if we select that one, as you can see, what's going to happen is it's going to try to project all of the geometry that we had into this new like geometry that we have to sculpt with. I'm going to apply this, because even though we can like polish it a little bit better, this is pretty much as good as we're gonna get. Now the cool thing is this element right now, if we go to sculpting mode, okay, and we go to that one right there, pommel B, we just need to clean some of these elements. Yes, we might need to rebuild or carve some aspects of it as well. So for instance, and make this a little bit smaller. We might need to recover some of the crevices that we created here. But the great advantage is when we look at this, when we rotate around, something very interesting happens. Instead of Blender having to think about the actual resolution level, it brings back the original level 1 subdivision of our element, and therefore we don't need to worry about performance. This is actually like one of the best ways to do performance or proper performance when sculpting. However, you do need to be a little bit mindful of how you get to it when you're first starting. So that's why I didn't want to teach you this method before. But if I were doing, let's say, like a barrel, right? Like the barrel from chapter 0, since the topology of that barrel is already really good, we can just bring that barrel in and use the multi-res subdivision modifier to get a better result. Now, in this case, what we're doing is we're transferring the details and we're creating a new object. Again, this is pommel B01. This is going to be my new object, where we're going to be able to work with this a lot more flexible. Like even like at 351,000 polygons, you can see that we're not really like having any issue whatsoever. So this is a really, really handy way to manage all of these elements. And again, another of the cool things is if we go back to layout mode, in the level viewport, we can bring this down to, let's say, level 2. Not level 1, because level 1 is very low poly, but we can keep it at level 2. And now, when we see all of the elements together, we can still get a nice idea of how this thing is going to look at the end, even though we're not really using it. Okay? So, if you are having issues with your performance, I do recommend going through each one of the different subtools and using this remeshing method. I keep calling them subtools. My bad. They're just objects. Subtools is from Zebra. Sorry about that. So you can do this for every single object that we have right here. Going through that through the remeshing process to get a better result and better performance on your computer. There's one more method that I'm going to show you, and we're actually going to be using this one for the lava rock. But I'm going to explain the difference, and that is decimation. So that's it for this one, my friends. I will see you back on the next one. Bye bye.